guys? I am back with another video. I know it's been a couple of weeks since my last video. I didn't mean for it to go this long between videos. I know some people have been kind of waiting for an update to see how things have been going with my gallery and my lineups. Uh, my wife actually, we just had a newborn a couple weeks ago, and so that kind of threw off my whole video recording schedule because I'm sure, as some of you know, newborns, you gotta wake them up every few hours to feed them. You're barely sleeping. And so, with the time that I have been awake, it's really been focused on other things, not so rare, not, making videos, that kind of thing. But I am back with another video. I've finally got some energy and some time to do that. So I just want to quickly go through with you. First, some thoughts I've been having about Sorare recently, based on some things that they've been doing and changing as of late. And then I want to go through my lineups for the weekend, as well as some gallery changes. I have made some updates over the last few weeks that I want to share and kind of explain my rationale. So the first thing I want to talk about is really the market changes that Sorare have made. Um, Now, as a lot of you know, I am a budget player, right? I'm not a whale. I try to keep my gallery around $100, maybe a little over $100, just because I want to see how much I can win, how well I can do with lineups with a $100 gallery. The problem that I've noticed with Sorare is, let me show you, and I'm going to go to. I'll just use the Liga MX example because I love Liga MX. They have changed all auctions to have a minimum price of approximately $2. I know they made this announcement a while ago. This has made it so much harder for me to build good, cheap collections. Something that I've started to do, just because I'm a fan of the Tigres, is that I've started to build a Tigres collection. I picked up a bunch of cards, and this makes it really tough to pick up the cheap guys, the guys who don't play much, the bench guys, at what I consider to be an affordable price range. If I was trying to do this a month ago, I could have picked up a Linez for 60 cents. I could have picked up, you know, uh, uh, the guys who don't really play too much, like Vigon. Um, I could have picked those guys up for like 50, 60 cents. That is no longer the case. If I want to buy the worst player, if I want to buy the guy who never gets any game time to beef up my collection, I have to pay a minimum of $2 now for that card. The cards that I'm never going to use in a lineup, that I'm only buying for the purpose of beefing up my collection. So I feel like this change. They're artificially trying to raise the prices of these garbage cards, these trash cards that you'll never use in a lineup, and that's just really irritating to me. And I'm sure for some of you who are maybe also on the budget side, you've probably also found it pretty irritating. Like if you want to build a cheap in-season collection, or a collection towards the end of a season, because those cards are gonna be a lot cheaper, it is really, really tough to do that now, in a way that makes financial sense. Like I don't want to spend $10 on 5 cards that are never going to see a lineup, that are never going to play, that I'm never going to use, that I'm just buying for the sake of getting that collection bonus. So now, in order to keep things more affordable, I'm essentially forced to go to the manager side of things, right? To go to bots, to look at manager sales, because in manager sales you can still sell it for 60 cents, but I'm missing out on that extra collection score by not having it, by not being the first owner, but not having it, be a new card. So, so it means I need to buy more cards on the manager sale side than I would have if I could just, buy these cards off of auction for 60 cents instead. So for me, this is a pretty irritating change, right? Like I don't want to spend $10 at an auction for 5 cards that I'm never going to use. Right? When my gallery is only worth $100, right? I don't want to spend 10% of what my gallery is worth on cards that are garbage that I'm never going to use, and I'm only using or only buying to beef up my collection score to a 3% range or 2% range or whatever it is that I'm trying to do. So that is pretty irritating. Um, Now, with that being said, obviously, I'm a sorare addict. I'm going to keep playing, but this just makes it a bit harder to build out any potential in-season collections that I want to try to do now or in the future. And like I said, I've been trying to build a Tigres collection now with the 2024 cards because again we're towards the end of the season. Um, so the prices have come down quite a bit because I think there's only like 5 games left plus the playoffs. So for the Tigres, that probably means like I don't know, maybe more, 7 or 8 more games. Depends on how far they go in the playoffs. But it just means this collection is going to be a bit more expensive than I want it to be. And I know, in the grand scheme of things, $2 is not a lot. But when I'm trying to keep things on a budget, and things used to be 60 cents and not $2, it's pretty irritating because now I'm paying 3 times more for the same card just because Silver is trying to artificially inflate the prices of limited cards, right? It's not. So I'm kind of just ticked off at Silver for trying to squeeze out more money on these garbage cards, these tier 5, tier 4 cards, just because they decided, hey, we're going to artificially raise the price from, the floor, which used to be 6 cents, to $2. So that's just a quick little mini rant from me on a change that I really disagree with. I really don't like. And that's just going to kind of cause a lot of budget players to maybe shy away from looking at end season cards when they become more affordable towards the end of a season. All right. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at some changes that I've made to my gallery. I haven't made a lot. I've made a few additions. Um, I've been leaning more heavily into Liga MX. I love Liga MX cards. Also, with now having a newborn, I realized I just don't have as much time as I used to research a bunch of different leagues. Like you guys know in Contender, I play a lot of Contender. There are a zillion different leagues in Contender. Japan, Latin American leagues, Russia. There's just a lot that you can kind of spend your time researching. I don't have that time anymore, so I'm trying to condense my future purchases to maybe like a couple of leagues. One of those being League MX, because not only do I like watching League MX, but I can also still be awake to watch those games. Right, I can't stay awake to watch a J League game anymore when I've got a newborn constantly waking me up and I need to sleep in the middle of the night. So these games, they come on at 7, 8, 9 p.m. They're much easier for me to watch, and I really do like to try to watch the games of my players. I know some people they just like to set lineups and they don't watch the games at all. I like to watch whatever games I can, and so Liga MX in terms of the contender leagues really kind of fits my schedule better for when I'm actually awake. I'm not trying to sleep, and so I've just kind of been leaning more into Mexican cards. So I picked up Steven Mendoza. He is a forward for Leon. Leon have been kind of a revelation this season. They used to be really good. They used to be a kind of a perennial top 6 team. They often would compete for the championship or the finals. They've kind of sputtered recently. They haven't had a lot of great signings. They haven't had a lot of great success. But this year, like I think they're in second place behind America. The offense has been flying. They signed James Rodriguez as a free agent. I think he terminated his contract with Rayo Vallecano. Came over to Leon. He's been phenomenal for Leon. Mendoza has also been a new signing. He plays as a winger, so he's kind of like a forward on the wing, and he's been really good as well. He's super cheap. He's literally like $1, but he's got an L560 and L1556. He gets decent AA for being a winger. He's playing right next to James Rodriguez, who's been stellar, and so he's been a pretty good budget pickup for me. Like I said, Leon's in second place right now. They're going to make the playoffs. That's pretty much guaranteed, and so I'm going to get some extra utility out of him in those in the Liga MX playoffs, in the Ligia as they're called. Um, I also picked up again, as I said, I've been building a Tigres 2024 collection. So I picked up Linez. He is coming back from injury. I think he should probably be back from injury next game or the game after. He's been pretty good with them this season. I know he's kind of had some pretty bad scores in his first season with Tigres. This season he's been a lot better, as you can see. He has an L15 of 56, so he's been pretty solid for them this season. He's been doing a lot better in terms of AA this year. Picked up Angulo. Of course, he's been the captain when Gignac has been out. He just signed a 4-year contract extension. I'm not sure if they've updated yet. Let me double check here. Yeah. So you can see in Sorare data, it says his contract goes until the end of this season, until June of 2025. That is not correct. I think like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, he extended his contract through 2029. And so he's going to be around for a really long time. He's been a pretty big stalwart of the defense for a long time. So picked him up. He'll be there for a while. Really great card. If you're playing Contender, Angulo is a pretty solid defender card to have. Jeremy Marquez. Some of you might be wondering, why would I pick up an Atlas midfielder when Atlas have been so garbage for honestly quite a while at this point? His contract ends this season. As far as I know, he has not renewed his contract with Atlas, so his time at Atlas is coming to a close pretty shortly. He is an extremely talented midfielder. He's probably the best player in Atlas right now. And I think because of his age, right, he's a really young guy, because of his talent, right, his potential, I think he's going to get signed to one of the bigger clubs in Mexico. I think he's going to go from one of the bottom feeder clubs to one of the top 6 clubs. I think Cruz Azul would be a good option. I think maybe even America could look at him. I really truly think one of the better teams in Mexico will sign him, will snatch him up in free agency, because again, he's one of the brightest young talents in all of Mexico. And so for, 60 cents for a guy who really is talented and would, I think, have superb scores on a much better team, he's worth picking up for, looking forward going into the fall season in 2025. So I didn't really pick him up for, to smash now, but I think when he goes into free agency, there's a really, really good chance he goes to an amazing team, one of the better teams like Cruz Azul, or one of the more offensive minded teams, and I think he'll thrive in a team that finishes in the upper half of the league and not consistently in the lower half or the bottom of the league. I also picked up Santa Maria. Again, just another budget pickup for my in-season lineup. Because Necaxa don't really have a good defender, I figured, you know what, for the rest of the 2024 season, I'll just pick up Santa Maria because he has the potential for some good scores. He's got a pretty good ceiling. And so not really much to say there other than just picking up a guy to help bolster the depth of my in-season lineup for the rest of the Liga MX season. Luca Romero, he came over to Cruz Azul this season. His scores have not been very good. Let's actually take a deep dive into him. His scores haven't really been that great because I think Cruz Azul have kind of been trying to figure out what to do with him. At first, he has kind of been playing like a forward lineup. Like he's kind of playing like a winger lineup where, Yakimakis was up front or Sepulveda was up front, and then Romero was on one side, Bogusz is on the other. Bogusz has pretty much taken that spot on the other side. And they've kind of been, oops, didn't mean to do that. Let me go back into this. They've kind of been doing a bunch of different kind of formations. Let me go into this one. All right, that was him off the bench. Let me look at the most recent one here. This is what intrigues me the most. They've kind of been experimenting with Romero as a center midfielder, right? So instead of putting him as a forward position, they've kind of been playing him a little further back in the midfield. This is really where I think his scores would drastically improve. Because he's a midfielder card and not a forward card, he hasn't been doing that great up front. So like I said, he's kind of been playing like to the side of Yakimakis, because for a while they were playing Bogusz on one side, Yakimakis in the center, and then Romero on the other side. if they can change the formation to where Romero's more of a midfielder like he is now, I think instead of having, a ceiling of 65, 70 with a decisive, I think he could go to a ceiling of, 80, 85, 90, based on, based on drastically improved AA. So this isn't necessarily a purchase that I made based on what he's doing now, but it's more based on what I think he could be doing either the rest of the season or going into the following season, where he might hopefully be pushed back permanently to a midfielder spot. He's a really, really talented player. He came over right from Europe. He signed through 2030. Let me actually go back. Yeah, let me look at. I think his contract is through 2030. So he's there for a really, really long time. He's only 20 years old. So I think as he settles into the league, right, it's a new league for him, as he hopefully settles into a center midfield spot and not a winger forward spot, I think he could be a really solid contender card that I want to, build I want to build experience on and use, and hopefully down the road in the next season, do a bit of decent winning with him with some drastically improved AA. Because right now he's not worth using at all, but given what I think they might do with him in the future, I think he could be worth using in maybe some non-priority lineups or even a priority lineup, depending on if they have a really good matchup. And I think they'll score 3+ goals in that matchup. Angel Correa, this is not a confirmed signing yet, but it's been rumored that he might be going to Tigres. It's the rumors he's in advanced negotiations with Tigres. He's 30 years old. I think he might maybe be looked at as a Gignac successor. I'm not entirely sure because he's played a lot of his career on the wing, and they already have a lot of guys on the wing. Like they have Ozio Herrera, who plays on the right side. I know Correa's kind of been playing as a right-sided winger forward for Atletico Madrid. But, if he goes to Mexico, this guy could be a real smasher. Like I like he could be Gignac 2.0 pretty easily. And so I decided to just pick him up again, really, really cheap. But if that transfer is solidified, if he actually goes to Tigres on a permanent basis, I think he becomes instantly one of the best forward cards in Contender. Like I truly believe that. I know Celtic is the best by far, but Tigres, him as a Tigres forward, he could easily be one of the more coveted forward cards in Contender if that transfer goes through. And then lastly, I did pick up a Brunetta midfielder card, just to again bolster that Tigres collection, that 24 and 24 collection. I do already have his forward card, which is significantly better, right? His scores as a forward tend to be 5 to 10 points better depending on the game, but his midfield card is still really, really good. He's still worth using in priority lineups as a midfielder, not just as a forward. So I made some additions. I have been leaning more heavily into League MX just because it'll be easier for me to research. Right, so I don't have to research one league and not half a dozen leagues around the world. And also because I've kind of been leaning more into Tigres just because one, I like them a lot, and two, I think they're going to have a really, really good 2025 fall season if they can solidify that Correa signing, maybe bring in a couple more big guns to fill the spot of Guido Pizarro, who retired, as well as some other guys who are really, really getting older, like Carioca. He's like mid 30s. Aquino, he's mid 30s. Right, if they can kind of clear out some of the older guys like Gignac, Aquino, Carioca, and bring in some really solid younger talent, I think Tigres could be amazing to use next season in the fall of 2025. All right, last thing I want to do is kind of look at my lineups for this upcoming weekend. It's been a little while since we've been able to play Contender. Right? We've had international games for a few game weeks, but now Contender leagues are back. International games are over. And so let's just take a look at what I've got going on. I've got, unfortunately, not a lot of great defensive matchups. two of my collections, right? I've got an Antlers collection and then got a Vissel Kobe collection. They actually play each other. So that's pretty unfortunate. But I think this lineup here could be really good. Antlers at home. Again, this if Antlers do well, that means Vissel Kobe didn't do well or they didn't score. They got blanked, which is unfortunate. But I think Antlers' defense is really worth playing. Monterrey, really great matchup against Tijuana. I think Monterrey score 3 goals here. Oliver Torres has been a really big component of their offense this season, and so I think he's worth captaining. And I've just got Noah Dusain, again, a guy who can score 70 points just from AA, right, just in his sleep. And then Brunetta, not a great lineup, not a great matchup, but I mean, it's Brunetta. The guy can bang whenever, so he's worth putting in the Predator lineup pretty much every single weekend, no matter the matchup. This lineup I'm pretty excited about. It is my Kashua Resol stack, right? As you guys know from my last video, one of my more recent videos, I decided to try to go into Kashua because they kind of remind me of like, I don't know, like a Tiki Taka Barcelona of old. Like, I know it's kind of ridiculous to compare them to Tiki Taka Barcelona, but that's basically how they've been trying to play. Just a tremendous amount of possession, and like they've been getting 60%, 70% possession every single game. So you're just racking up a ton of AA from passes, from final third passes, from assist attempts in the final third. So I'm just really excited about Kashua this season. So I'm running my Kashua stack at home against Tokyo Verde, which is a pretty favorable matchup for them, I think. Plus Benjamin Rollheiser. Again, I know I talked about this guy a while ago. I picked him up because he transferred from Benfica to Santos in Brazil. Well, the Brazilian League starts this weekend. So Rollheiser is expected to be one of their star players, expected to be a key cog in that offense. And so I think he could become one of the better contender forwards going into the summer. Again, if you're going to play Silver in the summer, you pretty much are limited to things like Norway and Brazil and the MLS. So if you want to play Contender in the summer, Brazil is one of the ways you got to go. And so I think Rollheiser will be one of the better forwards in the summer. I think Neymar is out. I think Neymar is currently injured. So I would expect Rollheiser to be on some set pieces. I don't necessarily know if he'd be on all of them. I really doubt he'd be on all of them, but I definitely think he'll be on some set pieces. So definitely worth running in your lineups. And I'm excited to see how he does at Santos. I think he could be really, really good for them, especially when Neymar comes back from injury and he's playing alongside Neymar. That could be a really nice combo, 1-2 punch for Santos. I've got some less favorable matchups here again. Sanfrecce Hiroshima are playing away to Kyoto Sanga. Not a horrible matchup. I think I looked at some gambling site odds. They're giving Sanfrecce plus 160 to get a clean sheet, which is not great. I think that's like 2.6 odds for European odds. So not great, but some of the better odds based on what I have available. Excuse me. And something that I'm really, really excited about this game week is Necaxa. Necaxa are pretty heavy favorites. I mean, there's no like mega favorites in Liga MX, but as far as Liga MX favorites go, they've got pretty favorable odds against Querétaro. So I'm running my Paradella and Palavizino lineup together. These guys together have just been tremendously helpful for me this season. I've won so much. I've done so well this season because of them. I mean, they're the reason why I got 2 podiums already this year. So I'm just going to keep running them together. And then I'm going to throw again my Mendoza in there with them because it's Leon at home against Pumas. They've been really struggling defensively. Pumas started off the season pretty great. Their defense was pretty rock solid. And then just all of a sudden they fall apart. Like Pumas are giving up, 3-4 goals a game just all of a sudden every game. It's been kind of crazy how much Pumas have collapsed defensively over the last month or so. And then I've got my in-season lineup where we've got again Palavicino. I'm favoriting him as captain because of that really strong matchup. Insane against strong. And then I'm actually running 2 Santos Laguna cards together. I'm running Aldo Lopez and Santa Maria. Again, Santos, I know, Santos Laguna are not great. They are one of the bottom half teams, but Otto Lopez, really good offensively. This is actually a pretty decent matchup defensively. Their opponent, San Luis, they've kind of fallen off a cliff as well. They were pretty good last year. San Luis made the playoffs, but this year they've really struggled. Their offense is not as good as it was last season. And so I think as far as a home matchup goes, I'm going to take a flyer on Santos Laguna and run them in my in-season lineup. And then for my non-in-season card in my in-season lineup, I'm going to run Adrisi, who again is just one of the best forwards in Contender. Consistently is banging, decisives. I think he's got like an L15 over 60. So he's just a guy you want to run him in your priority lineups pretty much all the time because he's just really good no matter who he's up against. He's actually up against Toluca, who are not that good defensively. Toluca are really good. I mean, they score pretty much for fun every game, but their defense is pretty horrendous. They give up like 2-3 goals a game pretty consistently. And so I think, even though Toluca are home, I still think Toluca probably give up a couple goals, and Adrisi is probably going to be on the end of one of those goals, whether it's him scoring himself or an assist to Rondon or to Kennedy, who's in one of their really good signings this season for Pachuca. So that's kind of what I have running this weekend. I'm pretty excited about my Kashua lineup. I know, again, they're not, a flashy team by any stretch, but I really think a few times this season, Kashua are going to smash. All these guys are going to get like 70, 80, 100 passes each, have 70% possession, score, win a game 3-0. And if they, can smash, they're probably going to have like, 75, 80 points each. So that's that's what I would need to get a high placement with that lineup. So again, just gonna keep trying them out, and I'm pretty confident that a few times this year they're gonna smash. And between the decisives and the AA they're racking up from passing, I think they're gonna end up getting me a podium at some point this year. All right, so we'll see how these lineups do over the weekend, and I will see you again. Hopefully, not too far in the future. Again, it's kind of dependent on my newborn sleep schedule and how much sleep I'm getting. But, as we figure out how to get her to bed, I'm going to try to, make sure my videos are consistent and I'm getting a video out, kind of reviewing my gallery changes, my lineups, and my thought process on, transfers and like on a weekly basis. So I will see you next time. Have a great night, everybody.